and good evening to the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. I want to welcome you today. My name is Chike Onyia, and I'm your host. If you're joining us from Nigeria, I want to welcome you. If you're joining us from Canada, I want to welcome you. If you're joining us from Abuja, Lagos, it doesn't matter where you're joining us from. We want to welcome you to the show today, right? If you're joining from Canada, we want to welcome you. If you're joining from Germany, from Ghana, from Senegal, we want to welcome you, right? On this show, our purpose, our goal is very simple, and that is to change one life, to change one family at a time, okay? If we're able to change one life and one family at a time, we've done a fantastic job on this show. We're not going to change the world overnight, but if we can change one life, one person, one individual, and one family at a time, listen, we've done our job, right? We've done a job. And tonight, I'm excited to be here. My wife is actually flying tonight, but she's, we got her to record something that she's going to share with us during the show. And on the show tonight, we're talking about what we started talking about last time: physical abuse, emotional abuse in marriage. And this is part 2. And by the way, that 50,000 naira that my wife couldn't give away, I have her permission to give it away tonight. And maybe what I'm going to do is split it up into 10,000 naira gifts to 5 different people. That's going to be at the end of the show. So if you want to win some money, the one condition precedent, is that you stay with me on the show, right? So last week, my wife and I were on this show, and we're talking about, physical abuse, emotional abuse in marriage. And, we started with an example of a woman who married a gentleman who she really did not know, and ultimately got into that marriage without doing her due diligence, what we'll call in Igbo land, in my culture, ijuese, right? She didn't do her due diligence, and she got into this marriage only to find out that the guy was a drug pusher. He wanted to conscript her into the business, and she said no, and he started to physically abuse her, to batter her, to beat her. She ended up in a shelter for women, a home for battered women, right? So one of the first questions is, why jump into a marriage if you don't know who you're getting married to? Some people think that you should date your potential spouse for a 2-year period to get to know them before you get married. That's what some people think, right? I think that's fair. I think it's fair. I think anything less than 2 years, you're taking a risk, because I don't think that's enough time. I think 2 years is too short myself. But I think at minimum, that 2-year mark is so important. You date the person, you court the person. Obviously, as Christians, we know there's no sex before marriage. I want to throw that in. It's holy, it's pure, right? So I'm not advocating that at all. But you get to know that person, get to know their family background, get to know whether they come from a home where there's been violence, physical abuse or emotional abuse, before you jump into the marriage, right? Also last week, we talked about a newspaper article that my wife and I read. And in that article, basically the article talked about, 4 Nigerian men married who had migrated out of Nigeria to the UK, to the US, etc. And what was common amongst the 4 men is that they each killed they killed their wives. Why would a man kill his wife? Why? Why do that? It doesn't make any sense. Why would you take somebody's life? Who are you? You didn't create that person. God made that person. The Bible tells us in Psalm 100, it is God who made us. We didn't make ourselves. So who are you to take a life of a human being? And that's why the Bible says, thou shalt not kill. Even as a lawyer, I can tell you, as you know, murder is a crime. And in Nigeria, my understanding, I'm a barrister here, my understanding from the study of law, the sentence here is death by hanging, is my understanding. In Abuja now, there's lethal injection, I believe, so you will die if you're guilty, found guilty of murder. Now, what are some other forms of physical abuse? People get slapped and bitten, black and blue. There's also emotional abuse, right? You're in a marriage and, your spouse yells at you constantly, right? They're yelling, they're raising their voices, that's a form of emotional abuse. Or when there's a conflict in the marriage, one person is keeping malice, like we'll say in Nigeria, what they call the silent treatment. It's like a cold conflict, a cold war in the home. I remember when I was in law school in the US, my very first year in the law school, one of my classmates, actually a Nigerian guy, he said to me, I've not spoken to my wife in 6 months and we live under the same roof. I can't forget that guy, man. Can you imagine? You're living under the same roof with your wife, but you've not spoken to her. Maybe they're like roommates in different rooms. They don't talk to each other. They go to work, go about their business. They come back and nobody's talking to each other. That's abuse. Both of you are abusing yourselves emotionally. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, what's the point of marriage? Why do we get married in the first place? My understanding of that is that, number one, is companionship. You get married because you want a companion. When God created Adam, he says it's not good for man to be alone. So he made a helper. He made Eve, right? So first is companionship. Then you talk about procreation after that. Children and then growing the family and all that. But physical or emotional abuse has no place in marriage. It really doesn't. And you have to question whether or not the person who is the abuser really has their mind intact. If you're just joining us, I want to welcome you. This is the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. My name is Chike Onyia. I'm hanging out alone today. My wife, my lovely wife, the prettiest woman on this planet, she was supposed to be on the show with me today, but unfortunately, she's flying as I speak. And she's not able to make it with us. But what we did was to get her to pre-record what she's going to say to us. In part 2, which is what we're doing today, we're going to be looking at solutions. We're going to be looking at things you should do if you find yourself in a marriage where you're being physically or emotionally abused. Right? In the moment, we'll open up the phone lines and we want to hear from you. 091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2662. Those are the phone lines to call. Of course, you can leave a message. You can chat, you can write a message, drop a comment on Facebook, yes, on YouTube. We're streaming on YouTube and Facebook. You can leave your comments there. We'll do our very best to read those tonight. On WhatsApp, 091 6000 2663. 091 6000 2663. I was thinking about the show today and I said, Chike, you need to talk about emotional intelligence around anger. Because when people abuse one another in marriage or even in relationships, there's something lacking there. And I think emotional intelligence is lacking there. Anger is a very serious issue. And when you're angry, you can engage in inappropriate behavior. Let's take an example of a spouse, a man and woman, spouses, a man, woman, husband and wife, and they get into a conflict at home. And let's say, for example, the woman or the man approaches the other person right up in their face and is yelling and is, encroaching upon their physical space, and it's threatening. I will slap you now. What can you do? You can't do anything to me. You can't touch me. And the person maybe it's the wife coming up to the husband. She feels threatened and intimidated. Is it because you're a man? What are you going to do? I'm going to hold you. I will fight you. Don't think because you're stronger than me, you can do anything. And so forth and so on. Listen to me. When you aggravate people, they can react or respond in ways that can be very deadly and detrimental. And the people who are emotionally intelligent, let's talk about that briefly. Emotional intelligence is a type of intelligence that only intelligent people practice. Let me repeat that. Emotional intelligence is a type of intelligence that only intelligent people practice. And I've said it on this show before. Think about it. Anywhere you see intelligence at work, intelligence, emotional intelligence. Let's unpack the word intelligence. Anywhere you see intelligence at work, practically, two things are happening. Number one, that person, that intelligent person, is solving a problem, usually a complex problem. And number two, that person is delivering a positive result. So let's say you get angry at your spouse and you want to get physical or emotionally abusive. If you had emotional intelligence, you would say to yourself, you know what? I know I'm angry. I know I feel like slapping my wife. I know I feel like shouting or screaming. But is this the intelligent thing to do? Isn't intelligence about solving complex problems? Here's a complex problem. I have a conflict with my spouse. Shouldn't I walk away? Shouldn't I keep quiet? Shouldn't I engage in the breathing exercises to calm down? Can I say this to you? Anytime you're angry, your heart is palpitating faster than normal. And your brain is excreting adrenaline, pumping it into your blood. So you're breathing faster, your adrenaline is pumping, and your heart is beating faster. Listen to me. To slow that down, you need to walk away. You need to keep quiet. You need to engage in the breathing exercises, in and out, right? You need to do something away from that person that is making you angry so that you don't respond or react violently. And that's emotional intelligence. First, it's intelligence, the ability to solve a problem and to deliver a positive result. If you shout or scream, if you physically abuse somebody, you're not delivering a positive result. I tell people that emotional intelligence equals DPR. The acronym DPR stands for the desired positive results. So emotional intelligence, a type of intelligence, equals DPR. The DPR, the desired positive result. When you're in a conflict with your spouse, when you're angry, when you're irritated and frustrated, when you want to be physically abusive, listen to me, if you practice emotional intelligence, you will think, I know I'm angry, but what's the DPR? What's my desired positive result? What do I want to achieve here? It's not really to beat my wife. It's not to slap my husband. It's to resolve the conflict amicably so that we can have a marriage full of tranquility and peace. And that's the DPR, right? So emotional intelligence, two things. It's a type of intelligence, and it's all about DPR. And DPR, we can say the desired positive result has two components to it. Number one, desired positive result means you're solving a complex problem. And desired positive result means simply you're delivering a positive result. So what I'm saying is that people who are emotionally intelligent, they don't engage in physical or emotional abuse. They don't. They communicate. They resolve issues. They talk about their problems like decent human beings, right? They don't react or respond inappropriately. They don't. You know, there was a story told about a quiet husband who was on his way to work. And on this particular day, the woman came up to him and said to him, I just saw a message on this telephone. I think it's another woman. You need to explain who this woman is. Let me say this to you, the listeners today, the audience. One of the issues in marriage that can create a potential for physical and emotional abuse is when one spouse goes out of the marriage to commit adultery. Some people don't take that well. They react. Some have killed their spouses because they cheated on them. Should you kill a spouse because they committed adultery? No. I think you should divorce them, but you shouldn't kill them. So in this case, the woman was alleging adultery, and the man reacted in such a way that it destroyed that marriage. Battered and bruised the woman to a point of no redemption. So we need to understand that abuse can be terrible in marriage. Okay? It can be terrible in marriage. I want to hear from you today. I want you to call into the show and let's start the discussion of, you know, how do you deal with physical abuse or emotional abuse in marriage? What are the solutions? So if you've been in that situation, I want you to call in and tell us what you did to resolve it. If you've not been in that situation and you've heard of somebody who's been in that situation, I want you to call in. If you've read, you've done research about how people should deal with abuse. If you're a psychologist and you're listening, maybe you can call in. A psychiatrist, maybe you've had patients who have been physically abused. What recommendations would you make tonight? Sometime on the show, we're going to hear from my wife. She's flying right now. I really miss her, but she can't be here because she's up in the air flying right now. And we pre-recorded her voice, and she will share her own opinions tonight on the show. But let's take a break. We're going to take a break. When we come back, listen to me, when we come back, we're going to open up the phone lines. If you're just joining us, my name is Chike Onyia. I want to welcome you to the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. It's really good to have you from Canada, from the US, from Lagos, from anywhere in Nigeria, in Africa, wherever you're tuning in from. I want to say welcome to the show. We're going to take a quick break. I don't want you to go anywhere. We'll be right back, and I'll catch you then. All right, welcome back to the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. My name is Chike Onyia. I'm so happy, so excited to be here with you. Tonight on the show, we're talking about physical and emotional abuse in marriage or in relationships, right? Are you in a relationship where you're being emotionally abused? I want you to tell us about that. If you have solutions to that problem, tell us about it. If you've been physically abused, you can call in anonymously. You don't have to tell us your name, right? Or whatever. We're talking tonight. This is part 2. My wife, Dr. Azuka Onyia, is supposed to be with us, but she's flying tonight. We have a pre-recorded something we've recorded from her voice. She will speak to us later on today during the show after the second break. But let's go to the phone line, 091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2662. We need to help somebody today. One person, one family, changing one life or one family. That's my job tonight. That's our job on the show. We don't want to change the whole world. If we can talk to a man tonight, if we can talk to a woman tonight, and we can get them to stop abusing their spouse, or we can help somebody get to safety, then we've done our jobs tonight. My wife and I have done our jobs tonight. And that's what this program is all about. It's changing one life, one individual, and one family at a time, right? Chike Onyia is my name. I'm your host. And tonight on the show, physical and emotional abuse. 091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2662. The phone lines to call in. We're looking for, yes, if you've been physically or emotionally abused, you can tell us. But tonight we're talking about solutions. What is it that this person can do to deal with physical or emotional abuse in their marriage? Well, let me start by telling you, one thing is very clear. You have to talk about it. I think that the first time you experience abuse, let's say you get shouted on, and I'm sorry, I'm using the husbands here. There's some good men out there. Not every man will abuse his wife physically or emotionally. But let's say the husband shouts on his wife, raises his voice and screams, and the wife feels emotionally bruised. I think one of the first things that wife must do when tempers have calmed down is to talk to the husband. Honey, we got to talk. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, tell me your name and where you're calling from.
From Lagos.
Sorry, I didn't get your name.
Lawal from Lagos.
Lawal, go ahead.
Sir, I feel that from my last week's solution that love is the greatest solution of all. But there is a particular thing I'm called about is the fact that you mentioned that if you get to know the person you want to marry, it will really reduce the physical and emotional happiness. In which I actually disagree with him. Because here some people don't get to look at them.
Halimat, sorry, the network is bad. I can't hear you very well. I really want to hear you. You said you partially disagree with me. I really want to hear that disagreement. It's very important. I don't have the monopoly of knowledge here. I can learn from you. So try again. What do you disagree with?
I disagree with the fact that we take from our partner.
Oh God. I think the network. You want to hang up, Halimat, and try again? I think that's Halimat. Thank you. Apologies for that. I really wanted to hear her. Because we learn from each other on this show. I think she was talking about what I said earlier. And I said, you need to really court or date your partner and get to know them well to find out whether there's a history of violence there in their family and just their character. And that's what I said, Halimat Lawal. And if you disagree with that partially, please call back. I want to learn from you, right? Like I said, I don't have a monopoly of knowledge. I've been married for 27 years. So I do know some things about marriage, but I don't know everything. So Halimat, call back and let's hear from you. 091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2662. On WhatsApp, it's 091 6000 2663. You can drop your comment on YouTube or Facebook. We're going to try to read that out. I wish Halimat will call back. So I was talking about communicating your displeasure. So the husband shouts, or even the wife, let's say the wife raises her voice. Or let's say, for example, the husband and wife get into a conflict and the husband is trying to apologize and the wife refuses to listen. She doesn't want the apology. Rather, she goes about for like a whole week not talking to the husband. That's emotional abuse. And every time the husband seeks to make peace, the wife shuns that. The cold shoulder, the silent treatment. That's emotional abuse. It's different from physical abuse. That's emotional abuse. And so we need to stay away from that. If one spouse decides I want to communicate, I want to apologize, I want to say I'm sorry, then you need to listen to that person, right? You need to listen to that person. And that's what we're talking about here. So communication is very important. And when we say communication, it's not necessarily just between the spouses. If you've suffered physical abuse, you need to be able to have a community of people that you talk to. If you're religious, your pastor, your imam, if you can see a therapist, absolutely. If you can seek counsel from a marriage counselor, that's fantastic. So, for example, let's say the man lays his hand on the woman the first time. That should be a no-no. As a man, you should never lay your hands on your wife or your significant other. I tell men all the time when I counsel them, I say, a real man does not physically abuse his wife. A real man would never touch his wife, right? Any man who does that is not a real man. He's just a member of the male species. He's not a man, a real man. I mean, your mates are building empires out there. What are you doing physically abusing your wife, battering her and beating her and all that? That's not a real man. You're just a male. You belong to the male species. You're not a real man. You need to come for counseling so I can talk to you. Real men don't touch their wives. Look, if you get that angry, walk away. Step away. You know, in the stories we read last week, my wife and I read in the newspaper, 4 men killed their wives, different women. They killed them. One shot the wife, the other one battered the wife with a skateboard or something like that. All kinds of crazy stuff that men do. Not all men. I want to be very careful. Not all men. There's some very good men out there. There's some very good women out there. 091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2662. On YouTube, we can read out your comments. Please leave your comments on YouTube. Leave your comments on Facebook, right? You can go to WhatsApp 091 6000 2663. You can also try Instagram. Go there, leave your comments on LinkedIn as well. We'll do our very best to read those comments tonight. But we're talking about what you should do if you are being abused physically, right? Or being abused emotionally. I would love to even hear from my wife. So we need to get ready to also listen to her. We're leaving the phone lines open, right? But I think my wife needs to come in shortly. I need to bring her in with this pre-recording that we did before she left. She's flying now, so I want to apologize on her behalf. She couldn't make this show. But I think, maybe I should also bring my wife in so she can, give a different perspective here, or maybe reinforce some of the things I've said as well. 091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2662. Halimat Lawal, I think you try and call back, right? Try and call back. Let's see. I really want to hear from you tonight. Look, guys and ladies, the bottom line, we don't physically abuse ourselves. I've been married to Dr. Azuka for 27 years. I cannot raise my hand on my wife. I cannot. I will not physically abuse my wife. I will not emotionally abuse my wife. Why? Why? Why would I do that? I love her. And I think that's what Halimat was trying to say. Last week she said it as well. Halimat talked about love. If you really love somebody, you're not going to physically abuse them or emotionally abuse them. I love my wife to death. I really do. Right? But again, some will argue, and I think my wife said that the last time, sometimes love is not enough. If love were enough, why would people be in divorce court? Right? Why would they be in divorce court? So let's look at Halimat here. She says, what I actually disagree with is that staying or courting someone for years doesn't actually mean you will get to know their character. I get it. Some persons hide their characters for years just to achieve their goal of marriage. Then they unveil their true character. I get it. Halimat, that's a brilliant answer. That's a brilliant answer. I really like that answer. That's a brilliant answer. And thank you for sharing. She's right. But you see, the probability or the potential of getting to know some of these character flaws will be higher if you've dated that person or courted the person for a longer period of time. I remember I used to be on the show with Chaz B, sharing life issues with Chaz B. Chaz B, my great mentor, brought me to radio, 93.7 Rhythm of blessed memory. I always want to give kudos to my mentor, Chaz B. And I remember on one show, a woman called in, and I think the topic was on physical and emotional abuse. And I think Chaz B or myself asked, how long did you know this person before you married them? And if my memory serves me right, I think what that person said was 6 months. I dated and courted the person for 6 months. I don't think 6 months is a good enough time to know somebody to marry them. I don't think so. I think that the 2-year mark is good. 2 years, but I will even recommend a little more time. I would say 3 years. Really date, court the person, get to know their family members, understand their history, their father, their mother. In Igbo land, and Ajue said, the concept of going to ask, get to know people. And I get it. I mean, you don't want to date or court somebody for so long, because then the question is, are you really going to be committed to this marriage, this relationship? Would you even ever ask for my hand in marriage? So I get it. I really get it. But the point is, you need to be able to know this person well to avoid this type of issues. Okay? All right. So let's do this real quick. We're gonna take a 60 seconds break. 60 seconds. And when we come back, we're gonna hear from my wife tonight. We have a call. Okay. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Yeah, tell me your name. Where are you calling from?
Okay, it's Menora, calling from Owerri.
Menora from Owerri. Go ahead, Menora.
Okay, I agree with what you said. Although the other lady is right, but I agree with what you said in the sense that, when you're in a relationship, you have to know the person, because in a relationship, anything you see, any bad thing you see, is a red flag for you going into the marriage. Because anything in the relationship you can't condone into marriage. The other hand, what the other lady was saying is also right, in the sense that some men too hide their character, but I believe that character cannot be hidden for a long period of time. So my advice to those in a relationship is, ask this question to the person: who do you respect most? Because that question, who do you respect most, something might come up. You go to this person, whether it's the pastor or the sister or an elder, you go and say, see what this person is doing. So that word, who do you respect most? So whenever something comes up, you know that, okay, you meet this person, and once this person talks to such an individual, the person will calm down. At least this is my own, contribution regarding to this. Thank you, sir.
Wow, Menora, thank you. You and Halimat, let me tell you something. If this money that my Dr. Azuka is giving out, we're going to ask questions. If people fail the question, Halimat and Menora, you have already won 10,000, because your answers are fantastic on the show today. Okay? So you people, if at the end of the show, people have not answered my question correctly, we need to give out money to Halimat and Menora. They're making the show worthwhile. We agree. And Menora, your advice is fantastic. Who do you respect the most? So that when issues arise, and they will arise in marriage, no marriage is free of conflict. My wife and I, we've had conflict. We had a lot of conflicts when we got married in our early years. But after a while, we started to really swim properly, understanding each other. And today, I can't remember the last time my wife and I had a conflict. It's been so long. We've been married for so long that, what are we even fighting about anymore? There's nothing to fight about, right? There's nothing to argue about. We know each other so well. But I like what Menora has said. For any young couple out there, if you're about to get married, do your due diligence, but ask that question: who do you respect the most? I really like that. Is your pastor, I don't know who it is, whoever that person is, when the issues arise, you need to go to that person, right? We need to go to that person. Although the general rule is to keep third parties out of your marriage, issues relating to your marriage. However, there are times that you cannot resolve issues on your own, and you need the help of an independent, neutral party, one that is not biased, one that is not going to be subjective, right? Okay, 091 6000 2661, 091 6000 2662. Menora and Halimat potentially have taken away 10,000 naira each tonight. We have 50,000 to give away tonight. That is coming from my wife. She couldn't give that money away. Last time she asked, what state is Mr. Onyia from? And somebody said Akwa Ibom. The other person says, what did they say? Abia or whatever, or Imo. You know, I am from Enugu State, right? You guys really need to get to know me very well on this show, because go and do your research. Check me out, because questions are going to be rolling and flowing, right? All right, let's take a break, because when we come back, we're going to be hearing from my wife. We're going to be hearing from the lovely woman, the most beautiful woman on this planet, Azuka, Dr. Mrs. Azuka Onyia. She's flying right now. She's in the air somewhere, traveling, and she cannot be on the show tonight. Sincere apologies. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. My name is Chike Onyia, broadcasting here from Oniru in Victoria Island, Lagos. To those of you joining us from around the world, thank you so much. My sister Belle just sent a message all the way from Atlanta. Hi Belle, thank you for tuning in tonight. And she actually has a comment. She says, sometimes men don't even know that they are emotionally abusive. They only think of abuse as physical. And And she says, actually, women as well. That's interesting. Thanks, Abella. I wish you were here to expatiate on that. But she said, this is a very important point. She said, sometimes men don't know they're being emotionally abusive. They think it's just physical. And that brings to mind a point I want to make tonight. And it could go either way, husband or wife. Let's say, for example, you're always on your phone as a spouse, and the other spouse needs your attention. They've had a bad day at work. They want to pour out their emotions. They want you to listen. And you're always distracted. You're always on your phone. You're talking to your friends. You're never available. And I think my wife mentioned this before, last time she was here. I think that's a form of emotional abuse. You're not paying attention. You're not available for that spouse, right? And even when you're physically present in the physical space in the home, you're always on your phone, you're on your laptop, you're always busy, you're working and all that. For some people, they work outside the home, they work very long hours. They're never available, right? And people could feel abandoned. They feel abandoned. Another form of emotional abuse is when you manipulate people. You manipulate their emotions to get what you want out of them. You tell lies, you misrepresent facts, right? You play the role of the victim, right? And so in that way, you basically try to get things out of them, but you know that you're not being truthful and authentic. That's also a form of emotional abuse. Well, I know Ruth is joining us from somewhere. Ruth, for those of you joining us, it will always be nice when you say hello. Tell us what city are you from. I think Ruth is joining from Jos, if I'm right. Ruth, can you tell us where you're joining from? And if you're joining from any part of the world, leave us a message on YouTube or Facebook. Put your name there. If it's Gabriel, say Gabriel is joining from Canada. We're saying hello. We want to know where you're tuning in from. The other thing I would like you guys to do, the audience, is go to the YouTube page, my YouTube page, Chike Onyia, and subscribe so that every time we go live at 7 p.m. West African time, you immediately get a notification. Every time we post a video, and we post a video every other day, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, Chike Onyia, the Chike Onyia Speaks, look for it, check it out, Chike Onyia, and then subscribe. You get our weekly videos, and you can also get notifications every time the show comes on, right? All right. Of course, you can follow on other channels as well. So let's listen to my wife. This is a pre-recorded. We did a session with her. She's flying right now. She's traveling. So let's listen to what Dr. Mrs. Azuka has to say regarding solutions to this problem.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. My name is Dr. Mrs. Azuka Onyia. I'm so sorry that I'm not able to be here physically with you guys on the show today. I'm unavoidably absent, so I thought I should pre-record my input into this very exciting topic. I'm going to cover a couple of things relating to how victims of physical and emotional abuse in relationships can take care of themselves. First and foremost, sometimes people get abused and they don't even know they are being abused. Maybe they are used to being yelled at, they are used to being hit, they are used to being manipulated. And so it becomes, the line between abuse and non-abuse becomes fuzzy. So it's very important, to first recognize the abuse. And a lot of times, when you are a loner, you don't have friends, you don't mingle, you don't have a support group, you're a very easy target for abuse. So if you are in a community of people, they will tell you, even if you don't recognize that you're being abused, your support group or your family or your friends or your secondary school group, whatever, they will tell you, and you would begin to view things, differently and watch out for certain signs of abuse. So when you recognize that you are being abused, the very next thing you should do is to move as far away from the abuser as you safely can. Safety is key. Safety is paramount. And when you're leaving, my suggestion is you leave quietly. Don't announce you're leaving. Just leave quietly and gently. After you've left, number 3, it is important to seek therapy. Abuse can be a very debilitating experience for anyone who is being abused. Feel free to talk to your pastor, talk to a therapist, let them help you walk through your emotions and how they have impacted you, and be very honest and open and transparent when you discuss, the things that have happened that have led to the abuse. You may find out that, you contributed to, some of the factors that led to the abuse, either by your conduct or your lack of action. You tolerated the abuse initially and then it just continued. It's important to, deal with yourself first and your emotions, to be able to move forward. And then number 4, it's important for you to develop a plan for your future. A lot of times, especially with women, abuse happens when, the woman is financially dependent on the man for everything. There's a lot of stress, in the world. And so sometimes the men feel so much burden, they have to cater for everybody that, they could lose their temper every now and then. So my advice is, the women too, or, if the abuse is as a result of, financial pressure, the women to try to, be financially independent. Start a business. It could be a home business these days with the internet. There's a lot that people can do even from home. Number 5, explain to your children, what has happened and the fact that abuse is a very negative thing, because they may have witnessed you being abused, so it is very important to talk to your children about that, to let them know that, abuse is a very terrible thing and it has had the impact that it has had on you. And, also, if you can, include your children in the therapy session so everybody gets healing. Number 6, work towards, reconciliation if it is a marriage, The Bible teaches us that God hates divorce, So if it is at all possible, and if the abuser, your spouse, has shown repentance and is remorseful, my sincerely held belief is that, you should work towards, reconciliation. However, if the abuser shows no remorse and the abuse is repetitive, you should consider permanently terminating that relationship. It is better for you to be alive and well, so you're able to be useful to yourself, to your children, to your, to the society. And last but not least, the law enforcement agencies are available, to, if you can't live safely, they are available to, to help you. I do know for a fact that Lagos State has a very robust, legislation on domestic violence and domestic abuse. Not a lawyer, so I can't really give specifics on that, but I would encourage everyone listening to research and know what the laws are and know what your rights are. So thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll see you next time. God bless.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Chike Onyia is my name. I'm your host. That was my lovely wife, Dr. Azuka Onyia. Thank you so much. I mean, she gave us some amazing points. right? Amazing point. So she said, number one, recognize that you are being abused. Number two, make your way to safety. Number three, seek therapy, right? Number four, plan for your future. I really like that one. She says, some women are financially dependent on their husbands, and sometimes when there's a lot of financial stress, some men tend to act out, right? So if a woman is able to, be independent financially, it may reduce that. Explain to your children the issues around this physical and emotional abuse because it can affect them, right? She said, work towards reconciliation if it's possible. If it's possible. I think that abuser must repent and must show us evidence that they've changed, right? They have to go for counseling, for therapy. You have to be sure in your mind before you reconcile, because people have been killed, from physical abuse. We know that for sure. And then, of course, she talked about the law enforcement agencies, getting them involved. There are laws that prescribe and say, you can't batter, you can't assault and things like that. It's a crime, right? Assault and battery. You can go to jail for that. Anyway, we're running out of time. Let me ask my first question real quick. My name is Chike Onyia. There's a company. I'm a chief executive of a particular company here in Nigeria. What's the name of that company? 091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2662. And you need to tell me not just the name, but what the company does. That's question one. 091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2662. What's the name of my company here in Nigeria? What's the name of the company? And what does the company do? Right? That's 10,000 naira there. What's of the company and what is the company? Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Tell me your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Omolola.
Omolola?
Omolola from Ogun State.
From Ogun State. Do you have the name of my company and what we do?
The name of the company is School of Resilience, sir.
Okay.
Ikenna School of Resilience.
Ikenna School of Resilience. And what does the school do? What does that school do? The Ikenna School of Resilience. What do we do?
Hello, sir.
I can hear you. What does the school do? Ikenna School of Resilience. Okay, but what does the school do? Do you know? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay. All right. Let me tell you what to do. You will give you 50% of the answer. It's one of the companies that I'm the chief executive of. That's not the company I was looking for. But send your account details to Chike Onyia Speaks Show at gmail.com. Okay? All right. So I'm still looking for that company. What's the name of the company? She named one company, but that's not the company I'm looking for. It's a company here in Victoria Island, Lagos, right? 091 6000 2661. What's the name of the company? I'm the chief executive. And what does that company do? Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Your name and where you calling from?
Hello. The company they deal on emotional intelligence.
Okay. What's the name?
The name of the company is called Human Capital Development.
Zodes, right?
Yeah, Human Capital Development.
Okay, you got that right. You got that right. You tell me your name again. You got it right.
Sir?
Tell me your name again.
Favor, sir.
Flavor.
Yeah, Favor, sir, from Lagos.
Oh, Favor from Lagos. Favor, send us.
Yes,
you've just won 10,000 naira on the show. Send us your name, your full name, and your account details to Chike Onyia Speaks Show at gmail.com. Send us an email. Chike Onyia Speaks Show at gmail.com. Right? Send us an email. Here's the next question. We have a few minutes. We have 5 minutes to go. Right? Listen to me. I want you to listen to this question. How many years have I been married to my lovely wife, Dr. Azuka Onyia? How many years have I been married to her? That's something I say all the time on the show. I think I even said it today. If you were listening, I said it today. So that's an easy 10,000 naira. 091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2661. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. What's your name?
Good evening, it's Menora. I called back again.
Menora. Okay, from where? Menora from Owerri, right?
From Owerri, yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm always calling.
You're always,
I'm a fan of your
yes
program.
I know you're always calling, and we really appreciate you, Menora. You need to keep winning on this show, right? How many years have I been married to my lovely wife?
27 years. You're always saying it.
I'm always I just said it. I said it earlier today. 10,000 naira to Menora. Please leave us your full name, your account details. Listen to the email here. Chike Onyia speaks show at gmail.com.
I also want the first one, though. The first. You promised me 10,000.
No, I remember what I said. I said that if after my 5 questions nobody gets it, then I will give you 10,000. So you've won 10,000 now for the 27 years. You may win another one before the show ends. So just keep listening, right? Keep listening. The email.
All right, sir.
Chike Onyia speaks show at gmail.com. Let me repeat that. Chike Onyia speaks show at gmail.com. Here comes the next question, right? Here comes the next question. I am blessed with a gift which isn't hidden and is given to me by God. And I'm using that gift as a tool to touch, to change, and inspire lives everywhere in the world. What is that gift? Tell me that gift. What is that gift? 091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2662. I have a gift. God has given me a gift. I'm using that gift to touch the world, to change lives. What is that gift? Hello, good evening.
Hello, sir.
Hello?
Hello? Yeah, it's Menora. I called again.
Menora, you're just calling. Okay, what's the gift?
Sir, God gave you the power of resilience.
The power of resilience. I like that. Okay, Menora, you tried. But that's not the answer I'm looking for. The answer I was looking for is my voice. The voice. My voice. God gave me a voice to speak. God gave me a voice to speak. How much have we given out today? We gave, who did we give? We gave 10,000 to, is it Omolola? She's the one, no, 5,000 to her. We gave 10,000 to Favor. We've given 10,000 to Menora. That's 25,000. Here comes one more question. We have 2 more minutes to go, right? Listen very carefully. Nelson Mandela, a rugged, resilient man, when alive, fought for a cause that led to his imprisonment. What was the cause he fought for, and how long did he spend in prison? 091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2662. Listen to me. Nelson Mandela went to prison. Why did he go to prison? And how many years did he spend in prison? This one is an easy question. It's a cheap 10,000 naira. 091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2662. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Tell me your name. Where are you calling from?
My name is Ruth. I'm calling from Benin City.
Ruth from Benin City. Go ahead, Ruth. What's the answer? Ruth, please call back. I really want to hear from Ruth. Yes. Let's throw one more question out. I have 1 minute to go. Yes, hello, good evening.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Ruth, go ahead.
As I said, you said your gift that God gave you.
We've already answered that question.
Oh, okay, sir.
Let me ask another question. Did you follow the next question?
Yes, sir.
The question is, Nelson Mandela went to prison in South Africa. How many years and why?
He was in prison for 27 years.
He was in prison for 27 years, correct? And why?
Because he was trying to fight for the freedom of African.
The freedom of?
African.
The freedom of who?
Africans.
Africans.
Yes, sir.
Okay, freedom of Africans. Okay, I think Ruth, you're going to get 5,000 naira. It's the
Yes,
freedom
sir.
of black Africans.
Yes, sir.
Black Africans, not just Africa, because they had the white Africans who were South Africans, but he was fighting for the freedom of black South Africa. Yes, yes, and it's anti-apartheid movement, right? All right, thank you so much, Ruth. Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the show. What an exciting way. I've even lost count of who. I'm sure my executive assistant, Ogechi, is paying attention. She's going to help me figure out who we're giving this money to. But Ruth is going to take 5,000 naira. Omolola takes 5,000 naira. Menora takes 10,000 naira. Favor takes 10,000 naira. And that's 30,000 naira. I promised that we're going to give out 50,000. That's my wife. And I said 10,000 will go to Halimat. That was the lady who called in earlier, Lawal, who says, look, the fact that you've dated or courted somebody for a long time doesn't necessarily mean their characters will be revealed. Their character can be revealed, be hidden, rather. And then, of course, Menora, who's looking to get more money. Well, Jesus Christ has answered your prayer today. So you go away with 20,000, Menora, because we have 20,000 left. We have to give 10,000 to Halimat, another 10,000 to Menora. Of course, you guys are regular listeners of this show. And so to say thank you, my wife is gladly going to give that money out, a total of 50,000 naira. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening tonight. I hope we've learned something. I hope somebody's life has changed tonight. If you're a man out there and you're abusing your wife, physically or emotionally, I want you to stop it, right? Reach out to me for counseling. If you're a woman who's doing that, please stop it. Reach out to me for counseling. God bless you and have a good night.